And so we have this for everyone else that cannot be here, but welcome. Welcome to a special webinar just for Beyond Boundaries incoming fall class of 2025 students, where we are very happy to have and grateful to have 4 undergraduate deans representing 5 different divisions at WashU. And I will introduce them in a moment. Before I do, though, I want to make sure that I also give a moment to introduce Assistant Director Jenny Harpring from the Brown School here at WashU.
Hey everyone, so great to be here with you tonight.
And also we have Program Coordinator Simone Picker, whose son we were just talking about a moment ago, who's a very good boy. So Simone Picker, say hello.
Hi everyone, good to see you.
I'm so glad to have, this is the extent. I've gotten a number of emails over the years from various colleagues and administrators at WashU saying, share this with your team. And I'm like, my team is Jenny and Simone. So thank you so much for being here. But tonight is all about getting answers to the questions you have about advising, about WashU in general, registration, which as you know is coming up in the middle of July. We have 4 experts in, again, 5 different divisions at WashU joining us today. I want to start though by saying how grateful I am as a director of this great program to not only be able to tell students, oh, you know, we have advisors in those areas. I can actually tell you the 4 people, the 4 names of those advisors in those areas. I think that's really special. I do not take that for granted. It's really, I'm really happy to have them here to again introduce themselves to you and kind of maybe prime the pump, you might say, for your meetings with them, which we assume you will have if you have not done so already before the July registration period. I also want to, just before I do that, I want to also say that I've been on a number of information sessions lately for Beyond Boundaries, and I've kind of come up with a new favorite analogy for advising at WashU, and it's like a snowball. Basically, when you get to WashU, off the bat, you have 3 advisors. You have myself, sorry about that. You have myself and you have Jenny Harpring, who advise you on the Beyond Boundaries side, the curricular requirements that you have for the program Beyond Boundaries. And then the advisor, one of the 4 advisors here, will be your 4-year advisor assigned to you. But remember that you have this one wonderful year, unlike about 1,800 or almost 2,000 students this year. You are a free agent. You actually have the opportunity that nobody else has to explore in your first year. Of those 4 basic divisions, basically 5 divisions, we're the thumb. Beyond Boundaries is the thumb. So if you at any point during your first year at WashU have an interest in business, for example, and you're already one of Dean Killen's advisors, definitely reach out to Paige Larose in that case, who represents Olin Business School. They are very welcoming to all Beyond Boundaries students, and we want to make sure before you make a change, well, I shouldn't say a change, you actually are a free agent in your first year, before you declare your official division at the end of year 1, very important, at the end of year 1, you make that choice. You want to make sure that you have all of your prereqs kind of figured out to make that change as smooth as possible. So with that in mind, let's get started by actually having each dean introduce themselves and talk a little bit about what you do, the students you advise, and we'll kind of go across all 4 divisions here, and then we'll open it up to questions. So let's start with the biggest division on campus, the Arts and Sciences, with Dean Dirk Killen.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dirk Killen, and I'm with the College of Arts and Sciences, and I'm delighted to get to see some of your faces, and I match the faces with the names and the emails I've been getting. I'm glad that you are all eager and anxious to join us at WashU, and I'm looking forward to meeting with you and working with you over the next 4 years. I'm the Associate Dean in the College of Arts and Sciences, and my academic background is in literature. My specialty is Irish Studies, and I teach that first-year program on the literary culture of modern Ireland, in addition to my administrative duties as an advisor, and I also work on the curriculum committee.
Thank you, Dean Killen. Dean Killen and I've had some conversations about Martin McDonagh, who's an Irish playwright, very dark writing. Let's
Even
go.
for the Irish, he's dark.
Yeah, even for the Irish, exactly. Let's go to Dean Paige Larose from the Olin Business School.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. If it's evening, I shouldn't assume things. I'm Paige Larose. I'm an associate dean and the director of our undergraduate program in the Olin Business School. And I've worked at WashU at Olin the entire time for 13 years now. And I advise students. And so in addition to advising those of you in Beyond Boundaries that may have an interest in business, I also have about an equal number of, already committed to business degree students that I advise as well. I lead a couple of the sections of our first year seminar course, Management 150, which you may be familiar with if you've indicated business as an interest. And then just generally work with a great team of about 12 advisors to provide services for our students, obviously academic advising, but study abroad advising and programming as well. We advise student organizations, of which there's about 30 that are affiliated with the business school, and just other general sort of mentor program activities, working closely with our career center and just all sorts of great resources and services that we provide to students, both getting the degree, but also students who might end up pursuing a second major or a minor with us in Olin. And there's actually about 450 students across campus getting their degrees from arts and sciences, engineering, or in Sam Fox that do study with us and get a second major or a minor. That's
Nice.
it for me.
Thank you, Dean Larose, for being here.
Yeah.
I think you'll find as you go along, students, that WashU offers so many opportunities to be flexible, to combine majors and minors and that type of thing as you go along. So again, your advisor list becomes a snowball. It's more and more. Your Christmas list is long by the time you're a fourth year student at WashU. You have lots of advisors to thank. Let's move next to Dean Melanie Osborne from the McKelvey School of Engineering.
I'm going to say right off the bat, I'm very proud of myself. I hit the unmute button before I began to talk. Well, hello, everybody. I am indeed Melanie from McKelvey Engineering. I am Senior Assistant Dean, and that's a fancy title to say I am a four-year advisor. That is my job. That is my primary job. And I do work with you all, you Beyond Boundary students who are interested in engineering. I'm also an art sci advisor, so I get directed around by Dean Killen sometimes in my art sci role, but I always say I can speak engineering and I can speak art sci. So, and Pig Latin. If anybody, unsway ute, octe, ute, ime. But what else do I do? I am the study abroad advisor in the School of Engineering. So if you're an engineering student or one of the many multitudinous students who plan to pursue computer science as a second major or minor and want to study abroad in computer science, I'm for you. Come and see me later, a couple years from now. My office is very similar to Paige's office in Olin. We are the one-stop shop for engineering student services. We help organize the student groups. We have registrars in our office. We are the drop-in people. I help organize mentor programs, and we're kind of dean of the day all day. So if you walk by Lapata 303 and hallelujah, we're going to be back there and we'll see your faces. We didn't get to see any of the students' faces in person from last year. So we're so excited. I'm going to speak for everybody there. We're so excited to be able to see you all. You can drop in our offices and drop in Lapata 303. Come and see us, say hello, say hi. And great to see you all, except a lot of you don't have your cameras on. So I see your names and hello.
Thank you so much, Dean Osborne. Before I continue to our final advisor, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that there are two podcast episodes. The most recent ones are with Dean Osborne and Dean Larose. So do give a listen to those episodes. They have very interesting backstories. Last but certainly not least, representing art and architecture at the Sam Fox School of Design and Visual Arts is Dean Georgia Bennington.
Thanks, Rob. We're really glad to see you. I wish you would all turn your cameras on. I like it when people actually show me their faces. It's a lot of fun, and we didn't get to see them, as Melanie said, so we really want to see people this year. Zoom advising is fun, but in-person advising is a lot more fun. You get to see the buildings, you get to see what's going on. As Rob said, I work with the Sam Fox School, which is a combined school of the College of Art and the College of Architecture. And it is also the museum on campus. That's a piece of our school as well. So we're a little bit of an unusual triumvirate down at the very far east end of the campus. And I know some of you have not seen too much of the campus, but the east end got renovated and we have a really beautiful space down there right across from engineering. So I'm across within waving distance of the engineering school. And it's a lot of fun. There's a beautiful park at that end of the campus. And it's a great place to just sit and study or meet your friends. And we want you to come down there and see what's going on in art and architecture. I'm a four-year advisor to half of all of the students in art and architecture. And I do the same kinds of things that Paige's office and Melanie's office do, but I do them by myself because I don't have an office of student services. I have me. So but that's because our school is really small. We work with study abroad students. I also work a lot with admissions, and I work on different committees all over the campus. And I think a really important thing for you to know about Washington U and about advising is the advisors that are here today, all of us know each other really well. And we know each other's schools as well, because we've worked with so many students who do cross over in their flexible learning. And that means that if you ask one of us a question about another school, we can begin to assist you, and then we know exactly who to send you to. The size of Washington University and the kind of people that work here really make it a place where finding answers is easy and getting help is easy. And as I say, we know each other well. I mean, Paige and I have sat down together to advise students interested in both schools. Melanie and I have solved some amazing problems of people who wanted to do art and engineering, which isn't always that easy. I've even taken a class with Dirk Killen. So he teaches Tai Chi. So we know each other well, and that means we can really direct you and help you. And I think it's my favorite thing, working with students and solving problems by talking to all the wonderful advisors here.
I have been meaning to take Dean Killen's Tai Chi class for years. I need to do that.
It's really good. You should do it.
It's offered this summer, Professor Morgan.
There you go. Okay. All right. Now the pressure's on. If your name, and I don't see any of them here actually, but if you're watching this recording and your name is Sean, Alex, Mariah, Ella, or Clara, your advisor in arts and sciences is actually Dean Jen Smith. I just dropped a link to her homepage in the chat. Dean, particularly the five of you have been selected because you have an interest in, help me out, Dean Killen, is it environmental studies?
Environmental studies, yeah.
Yes, and she is an expert in that area and a very, very good advisor. So the overwhelming majority of you are arts and sciences students. It's actually quite proportional to the overall student body at WashU. And so Dean Killen has 5 advisees that are going to Jen Smith. Again, that's Sean, Alex, Mariah, Ella, and Clara. I want to make sure that's clear. I also want to make sure something that's clear that I've got a lot of questions about lately, and it's nothing wrong to have questions like this. Just reach out to us, either email us at beyondboundaries@WUSTL, we call it for short, at wustl.edu, or myself or Simone or Jenny. But it is about as you're planning your fall semester, some of you have noted that you do not see the Beyond Boundaries seminar as an offering in the catalog. The reason for that is it's hidden. It's hidden because it is only offered to students like yourselves. Simone will, as I believe they say, administratively enroll you in those courses, in that course specifically, in the Beyond Boundaries seminar. All you have to do is make sure that you leave 5:30 to 6:30 on Tuesday evenings open on your schedule. Do not schedule a class in that time frame, and that's when the seminar meets. We're looking into actually an actual classroom, which I'm very excited to have, like everybody else here, faculty on this call, that we're excited to see students again. It's been too long. So to make sure 5:30 to 6:30 on Tuesday evenings, you leave that open on your calendars for your fall semester schedule, and you'll be administratively enrolled in the Beyond Boundaries seminar. Simone, who is also here, of course, is also going to be enrolling you in the Beyond Boundaries course of your choosing before the July registration, before the floodgates open and those seats get taken up. So if you have not yet done it, make sure you fill out the form that we've shared with you on your fall 2021 course selections. We will be reaching out to you in roughly October about your spring Beyond Boundaries course selections, but at the moment, all you need to worry about is fall. With that, I would love to maybe start with a general question to the four panelists and then kind of open it up to questions from everybody. And we'll operate in the same way I normally do for class. If you have a question, students, and you would like to ask that anonymously, just simply direct message it to me in the chat and I will ask it as an anonymous question. Nothing wrong at all with that. But I'd like to just ask in general of the four deans here, what's something that you want students like Caleb, for example, who's going to book an appointment to meet with Dean Binnington, what would you like students to know before they have meetings with you, advising meetings specifically?
I can go first. I sent you all an email and I mentioned something called the Canvas course. Canvas is just the learning management system that WashU faculty utilize to help structure the courses. So you'll find assignments there, you'll find discussion boards, quizzes, all kinds of things. You may have used something similar in high school or perhaps even used the same thing. And that Canvas course actually walks you through all the things you need to know to get ready to register. So it's really important to do that. That's kind of the first step of getting ready to meet with me as your art sci advisor. The last portion of that is to fill out what we call a registration worksheet. And your worksheet is actually two worksheets. So you can put your first choices on one and your second choices on another one. And I recommend that you do that. Put as many choices in there as are interesting to you. Doesn't matter if the list becomes very long. It doesn't actually have any limit to it. And one thing that it tells me are the kind of courses that you're interested in taking. You're not going to be able to take them all this semester. You're not going to be able to take them all this year, but there are things that are offered in many cases every semester or every year or every 2 years. And so we can begin to think and plan a little bit ahead for what you may want to do down the road. Do that Canvas course and prepare a worksheet and then sign up on my calendar, and we will go through and get you ready for the registration days themselves, which are the 13th, 14th, and 15th of July. If you look in your web stack, you'll see right now that you already have been assigned a time slot on one of those 3 days. And that's the time when you'll actually go online and enroll in your classes. So it's really important to make note of that and get on the registration system as soon as you can, because as Russ Morgan said a moment ago, classes do fill up, and something that you're really interested in taking might fill up. You will also note that some classes are already full. No disrespect to you, but you are the incoming class. And you have to remember that it is a little bit like high school. Seniors got first crack at the classes, then juniors and sophomores, and then of course the first year students register over the summer before they arrive. So, but it won't be long until you're a senior as well, and you'll be ruling the school, and you'll have a chance to get into all of those smaller upper level classes that sound so cool. Focus primarily on 1 and 200 level classes. In other words, courses that numbers begin with the number 1 or 2. because those are the ones that are geared more towards first and second year students. Right? So your schedule will largely have those classes, but you may place into a higher level. You know, if you have, for example, already completed Calc 3, which is Math 233 in our system, you might go into matrix algebra in the fall, which is a 300 level class. It begins with the number 3. And that, of course, is an advanced course. Likewise, your Spanish placement exam might put you into Spanish 302 or 303, right? So we don't want you going back and doing classes that on material you've already covered, right? So there are placement exams that you can take in the different departments. So anyway, I could go on for a long time. Most of that is in the Canvas course already. Some of you probably have already begun to work on that. So I'm going to stop talking and let my colleagues also chime in.
Nice. Thank you so much, Dean Killen. We had a question during that from Jonah about what time you've been assigned. You can find that. Thank you, Dean Larose. You log into WebStack, you go to registration, and you'll find your day and time listed there. I'm sort of saying that for the students watching this on a recording. Let's move next to, in the same order as we did introductions, Dean Larose.
Yeah, great. I mostly have the two similar talking points and tasks that Dean Killen had as well. We being Olin, have created a Canvas page called Summer Orientation and Advising. So would definitely encourage students to complete all of the modules that we've created. It'll walk you through the process, our curriculum, the degree requirements, and really help set you up for success in building out that second piece of information that we'll want from you before we meet, which is the registration worksheet. So it's, as Dean Killen said, an incredibly useful tool for a student to complete ahead of time. Our conversation can really flow well when we know what you're interested in taking. We can talk about when and how you study best. Are you a late night person? Are you a morning person? And if you tell me you're not a morning person, but you have all 8:30s on there, we're going to have a discussion about time management. So again, really important that you fill out that registration worksheet. And then beyond that, it would just be, reach out to me and we will, I'll direct you to my scheduler link. We'll set up a time, about 30 minutes to have a conversation. And if we can wrap it up in 30 minutes, great. But if we need to meet again before July 13th, 14th, or 15th, we can certainly do that too. We just want to make sure you feel confident and excited about your fall schedule. But again, those two key pieces are the Canvas modules and attempting to build out that registration worksheet. If it's not perfect, that's okay. But you give it a good effort, I would say.
Thank you, Dean Larose. Reminder to be honest, not only on that form, but on your housing application, which I think you've already submitted. I recall my stepdaughter submitted hers. She just graduated from WashU, and she said she was clean. And I'm like, are you sure? Have you seen your room? Let's move on to Dean Osborne from McKelvey School of Engineering.
Well, I don't know what else I can add to that because those other deans really covered it. We do have a Canvas course because we like to copy each other, and we do have that. So I have been emailing my folks here in Beyond Boundaries and kind of pointing out a few things that are different for them. But in general, the Canvas course is going to give you a lot of good information. Probably the most important thing to know is we can catch you up in engineering as if you change your program or you're not sure what you want to do, as long as you're willing to generally take physics or chemistry over the summer if you weren't able to fit it in to the first year program. Because you do have some great opportunities in Beyond Boundaries and requirements for Beyond Boundaries. So I will work with you. It's going to be really hard, and this is why we do discourage Beyond Boundaries students in pursuing especially chemical engineering and environmental engineering. So if that's really what you got your heart set on, and you really need to talk to me about that. Otherwise, Same thing as Dean Larose said, you're going to make an appointment. We're going to chat. If we have to chat more, we'll have yet another Zoom time together. So look forward to talking to all of you.
Got it. Thank you, Dean Osborne. Before we go to Dean Bennington, a quick question. If a student is having trouble logging into WebStack using their WashU email, who do they contact about that? Is there a
Registrar's office.
registrar's office? Okay. So should they start maybe with Simone, and maybe Moira would help us with that? Do you think, Simone?
Sure. Sure.
Okay.
I'm happy to help the student if they
Got it. Got it.
No
Simone, could
problem.
you remind us of your email address really quickly?
Sure. It is my first and last name all together at worcester.edu.
Simone Picker at worcester.edu. And then finally to Dean Bennington, what would you like your students to know before they meet with you?
Well, we're different. That's the first
Really?
thing. So in all the other schools, you will register yourself. In our school, you don't. We will register art and architecture students, and I have 2 architecture students here. So Caleb and Heidi, I will be registering you. You are my advisees, but I will only do it after you fill out the form and after we have a meeting. And the reason we do that is that there are very specific courses taken in art and architecture that we need to get you into, and it's just easier for us to do that. And so we've done that for many years. We'll be doing it relatively soon. So once you get your registration worksheet filled out and we have a conversation, and we can have as many as you like, you can tell me what you want to take and what you absolutely hope you never have to take again. You can tell me if perhaps you want to do a study abroad and a place where you need to start a foreign language. There are all kinds of things. And then I'm going to tell you that, no, you probably can't do that because you have to take so many classes in architecture that you can't fit anything else in. Not really true. But you do have to take very specific classes. And so we're going to work on that. And if there's anybody here who's not in architecture or art, and you want to consider an art class, for example, you love photography, and you think you'd like to start out taking a photo class, I want to tell you that in the Sam Fox School in Art, all of the classes will tell you you will be on the wait list right off the bat, because our classes are very small. There's usually 15 people in a studio class. And so we keep them small and we watch them very carefully. So don't be dismayed. If there's a class you want to take in art or design in the College of Art, go ahead and put yourself on that wait list if you're in one of the other schools, and email me and tell me you're on that wait list, and I'll see what I can do to help you. But don't be dismayed if you see wait list or it looks like the class might be full. Go ahead and see if we can fit you in, okay?
Yeah, I want to underline something that Dean Bennington said here, and it's about it's another illustration, I think, of the flexibility of WashU. If you take a listen to a podcast I did with Sam Coe and Dylan Miyashiro. They talk about their common interests across business and architecture. Now, one of them has a prime major in one of those schools and a minor in another. Dylan, for example, is a business student, one of Dean Larose's advisees, but he's also taking doing a minor in Sam Fox School of Art and Architecture. So that's, I think, a testament really to the fact that you can mix and match and really find the right combination for you as you move along. Quick reminder as well that you cannot, there's a rule of 3s at WashU. You can major in one thing and minor in 2. You can major in 2 things and minor in 1, but never more than 3. That's kind of how that works. Nothing wrong with just one major as well. So
That's
let's.
in engineering. We don't
Is that-
have the rule of 3.
There's no rule of 3 in engineering. I knew there was an exception
I mean,
somewhere.
you'd be kind of tired and worn out, and if you need to stay an extra semester to complete more,
That's
we
right.
will take your money as long as you want to keep giving it to us. But
Exactly.
there is no rule.
Got it. And again, if you want to take Dean Killen's Tai Chi class over the summer and you're in St. Louis, sign up. All right, let's open it up to questions from students. I really want you to have an opportunity to meet these 4 amazing people. So don't be shy. Anyone want to unmute or type in the chat a question you might have? Why did you come here tonight? What burning question do you have? Not everybody at once. Let's ask this of our 4 advisees: bagels or donuts? Or advisors, excuse me. Dean Killen, bagels or donuts?
That's a trick question, right?
No,
Both.
it's not.
Both, but not at the same time.
Got it. Both, but not at the
Alternating.
same time.
Odds and evens.
Oh, way to not commit on that one. Dean Larose, what bagels or donuts?
We're
Bagels.
arts and sciences.
Dean Larose said bagels with contempt. She's like, why would you suggest donuts?
For sure, bagel.
For sure. Dean Osborne?
I am not going to waste my calories on a donut. I have way too much desire for chocolate and other sweets. So donut,
Yeah.
not worth it.
Yes.
I go bagel and then I eat the chocolate later.
Yes, exactly. How about Dean Bennington? Bagels or donuts?
Bagels.
Bagels. Very simple. All right. Looks like bagels won. And then there's like a basically double vote by Dean Killen.
And we have a question.
We do have a question. I have a private or an anonymous one I'd like to ask, and I think it's a burning question that a lot of students have. And I'm sorry, it's not necessarily about advising, it's about move-in, but I want to very quickly answer it. You all are moving in on Friday, August 20th. It's a day earlier than the rest of the general population, which is great. That means we get to do things with you on Saturday the 21st and part of Sunday the 22nd. But the question was about family programming. The goal at this point is to have a brunch of sorts on Sunday, the 22nd of August, for parents and students in this program. So our hope would be that your folks would stay until Sunday. Everyone, and I should say all parents, are promised there is no programming beyond 3 p.m. by first year programs, that there's nothing they would have to do beyond 3 p.m. on Sunday. So if that's some general information there. But we as a cohort will be doing a lot of things on Saturday the 21st. So I want to just kind of put that out there. There's a lot more the only thing we can really count on is uncertainty in this world. And so all of that is at the moment in clay. We're still molding what that looks like. There was a mention in the Canvas course of first year programs. Is that something we should be thinking about, or does BB fill that for us? First year programs is an arts and sciences hosted set of programs, including ampersand programs. You cannot be both in an ampersand program and Beyond Boundaries at the same time. But yes, you are technically in a first year program that is across divisions, and that is called Beyond Boundaries. I hope I answered that. I don't know if I did, but let me know if I didn't, Jonah. Sorry, Dean Killen answered that. Apologies.
Yeah, if there are spaces at the end of the registration period, we will allow that in arts and sciences. If you want to override that, Rob, you of course have that authority as well. Most students don't do an ampersand or try to do an ampersand. They might pick up a first year seminar though, right? Which is a 1 semester class.
Got it.
Ampersand, like Beyond Boundaries, goes over more than 1 semester. So it's tough to do 2 at the same time, even
That's true.
if we would like to. Yeah, that's hard to do too.
Very true. Do you take dual credit classes? This year I took a dual credit calculus. I have no idea what that question means.
I'll take that one. 'cause
Thank you.
Heidi's one of my students. Dual credit would mean that you were taking a course at a community college or a college in your town along with your high school. If it's counted for your high school credit, we won't take it. It can only count 1 time. It needs to be on a college campus taught by a college faculty member, and we need to get it on a college transcript. Everybody agree with me on that one? And then we will take it. But if it already counted for your 4th year of math from high school, we won't count it twice. However, it probably means that you could take the calc placement test and place out of Calc 1 here. And if you had a 5 on AP, AV, you can place out of it here. And architects have to take it. So one way or the other, we'll figure that out, Heidi.
Right. I want to note here for those watching the recording that all 4 advisors gave Georgia the thumbs up that yes, it's true in the other divisions as well. Anonymous question here about how many classes should students take per semester? Maybe starting with the first semester. We see 5 from Georgia, 5 from Dean Larose, 5 from Dean Killen, and 5 from Dean Osborne. That was a visual daily double we just saw, everybody holding up their hands. So yes, that is generally recommended in your first semester to take no more than 15 credits in your first semester. You can expand from there, but in your first semester, there's lots of new things coming right at you. So including time management. So no more than 15. The seminar is a 1 credit seminar, pass fail. So that can be your 16th credit as needed. But remember, 3 of those 15 credits is a Beyond Boundaries course, 1 of 5 on the books. Let's see. Here's a question anonymously. How does dropping courses work with your transcript? Also for summer start courses.
You mean, how do you drop a summer start course, or how do you get in a summer start course? Are those 2 different things?
Yes, because it's not my question. I'm not exactly sure. How does dropping courses work with your... So let's say you do it sometime in your 4 years, drop a course. What is that? Is that a black mark on your transcript? What does that look like?
No, we have 2 kind of drop dates. So up until the first week of school, I'm not going to remember the exact date, but kind of at the end of the first week of school, you can drop a class. It will show up as a D on your internal record. But if you were to ask the university registrar for an official transcript, that class would not show up. After the drop date, there's a certain window of time until nearly the end of the semester where if things are really not going well in a class and you've talked to your 4-year advisor, or you've talked to Jenny and Rob and Simone, and it's best that you withdraw from a class, it becomes a withdrawal, and there is a W on both your unofficial and your official transcript. Years ago, a friend of all the advisors, Dolores Kennedy, said wisely, W stands for wisdom. Every once in a while, a W saves your hide. So W stands for wisdom. If every semester you've got a W, you're not so wise anymore. You're a very bad planner. But W stands for wisdom, but do talk to your advisor about how that withdrawal is going to work and how that's going to affect the rest of your curriculum.
Yeah. Thank you. With my faculty hat on, I also want to underline the fact that there is an add drop period. In the first, is it 2 weeks of courses? There's some-ish 2 weeks of courses. There is an add drop period, and my enrollments in my classes fluctuate in that period of time. And it's just because students are dropping and adding and finding the right combination for themselves. There's no penalty for doing that. You can drop a course as long as you don't go below 12 credits. That means you're a full-time student at 12 credits. Let's see.
I add just one
Yes,
thing
please.
in there too, Rob. So that the add drop is the early deadline. The later deadline is the withdraw deadline towards the end of the semester, end of the 12th week out of a 15-week semester. And remember the consequences of not withdrawing can be fairly severe. If you're doing that poorly in one class, better to jettison that class than to allow the heroic makeup effort that you'll have to do to pull that class up, which will then make your other grades drop. It's not just, oh, that one class, right? So yeah, remember W stands for wisdom.
Wisdom, for sure. Jonah had a question here about college writing. It is recommended you take college writing in the fall if you're in the Beyond Boundaries program. We have made some exceptions in the past for spring, but you would need to make sure you let us know that. Is that correct, advisors, about that? Yes. Okay. So yes, you take college writing in the fall. And there are 6, I think, themes for college writing. I don't remember them all, so don't ask me. But one of them is called Dreams and Nightmares, which is my favorite name.
I think you're assigned.
Oh, you're assigned. Okay. Got it.
Yeah, you're assigned. So it will show up in your web stack
Got it.
when you're assigned to take college writing.
Oh, gotcha. So Abby in this case was placed in spring. That's just fine. All first year students had to take college writing, with the exception of some engineering students. So it's not just a requirement of us as a program, but university wide. And thanks, Dean Larose, for the summer start information.
And if you got a message saying you need to take a writing placement test, take it and take it soon so we can get you registered for the right place. You have been assigned, but there are some options that might happen if you don't do very well on your writing placement test. So do take it.
Got it. We have a student in the Nemroff Writing Scholars Program. Congratulations. Will it conflict with Beyond Boundaries? I think
That's
I can.
excellent.
That's excellent for you. And there's a building named after Nemroff. It should not at all conflict with Beyond Boundaries. Let's see. Jonah has this question. I didn't get a message about a writing placement test. I got one for math, though. Not sure
Jonah,
about-
that's probably
You have to take the writing placement. If you didn't get a message, then you should be okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I think the reason for that is it's this year admissions were test score optional, right? So if you had, for example, AP composition, and you have a grade in your transcript, you have a score that was sent in, then that's the reason why you're not being asked to take a placement exam. That's one scenario, but it's because the college writing program has to have some sense of where you are with your writing. So hence they ask you each to take the placement exam if there is no test score in there to give them direction or guidance on that.
Yeah. These are great questions, folks. Keep them coming. Ryan had a question. Do we have to submit our AP scores from College Board?
I'm so glad you asked that question.
So am
Because
I.
I was about to answer it. Yes, please submit your AP scores. They could give you credit. They could give you placement. Sometimes we have someone get to their senior year and need 3 credits, and we say, did you have any AP scores? And they say, oh yeah. And then it turns out they really could have gotten 9 more credits, and then they wouldn't have had to take some classes. So submit them now.
Is there a deadline for submitting those?
No,
I think
before you
just
graduate.
answered that. Graduation. Although we'd like
Graduation.
to see them so much sooner.
Okay. So there's some
Oh,
wiggle room
can
up
I say
until
one-
graduation. Yes, go ahead.
I want to say another thing about AP scores. Usually the AP board is not going to go back and pick up your past AP scores. So senior year, and not everybody takes AP classes, and that is perfectly cool. That's fine.
Yeah.
Everybody doesn't have to take them. But if you took an AP junior year and then you told the AP board to send your scores senior year, they don't go back and pick those up, nor did they know junior year where you were going to go to college. So you might have to dig back in your AP and send those scores to us separately.
And that does apply to IB, whatever IB means.
International Baccalaureate.
National
Thank you.
Baccalaureate.
Thank you. It's been a while since I was in college. Let's see. Other questions? Don't be shy.
One other thing I'll add there too, those AP scores or IB scores that you send in do not show up on your transcript, even if they are on your high school transcript. The scores themselves are only in your internal record or your unofficial transcript. And that helps us as your advisors and the registrar's office when they're certifying degrees, they can see those credits that you've earned. So don't worry if there was one score, for example, that didn't go well and you're not sending in your AP scores because you don't want that quote on your transcript. The only person who will see that score is yourself and your advisor. It will not be on your permanent transcript.
Understood. While we're talking about transcripts, very quickly, remember Beyond Boundaries is a 2-year program with the opportunity to re-enlist, you might say, for 2 more years. We just granted milestone notations on the transcripts for the class of 2023 because they are rising juniors. So they, all of them just completed their 2 years for Beyond Boundaries. Many of them, 20 or so, 22 of them are going to be continuing into focus phase, we call it, for the second 2-year stint there. We had a question here anonymously for AP scores between 3 and 5. What scores generally earn college credits? For Woostel, is it mainly 5s?
Go to the Washington U webpage, type in advanced placement. It'll give you every single one of them. It's usually a 5, but some 4s do count. Some give you credit, some give you placement, some give you nothing. So but you can just go to the website, type in advanced placement in search, and it'll tell you every single thing that counts.
Got it. Caleb has a question there, Dean Bennington, about registering for different classes other than architecture classes. Will they be prioritized or will they be overruled by our dean for more architecture classes?
Well, there's one architecture studio for every architecture student every semester if you do the Bachelor of Science. And for first-year students, there's a 1-credit course called Practices. Those are your only architecture classes first year. So we can fit other things in. You've got your Beyond Boundaries course. You might have calculus, you might have writing, or you might have some other things. You decide on what you want, do your first and second choices, and we won't force you into an architecture class when you want to take something else.
Got it. They keep coming here, so I want to try to get to these with the time we have remaining. What if you don't have a writing class right now in WebStack? Is it supposed to be there, or do you need to do the writing placement exam first?
It won't be in there till you register for it or we register you. It
Okay.
doesn't get put in automatically.
Got it. Another question here. I believe I know the answer to this one. What is the deadline for class registration? Essentially, that's the middle of July, the 3-day period in July when first years register. Is that correct?
The deadline would be that end of the ad drop period.
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Okay.
But it really behooves you to register on your assigned day.
Yes, of course. Yes. Okay. Here's another anonymous one. How will we be able to tell if our AP scores have been sent into WashU? Is there somewhere we can check to make sure, find out those scores have been received?
Ask us.
Ask these 4 fine people here, whoever your 4-year advisor is.
You can also, on WebStack, there's something called your unofficial transcript, I believe it's called, in WebStack. And you'll be able to see scores on there. So you'll know, if you look there, you'll know if they've been received and posted.
The scores don't usually get in until late summer, so they're not going to be there right now.
Right. As you can imagine, there's like 1,800 students potentially sending in scores, and there's not 1,800 people putting them on transcript.
Yeah. Last I checked, the first year class is 2,000, pre-melt, we say. Here's a one from Heidi. I want to continue playing clarinet at WashU. How would I go about that? What would be my options?
Take a music class. Just tell me about it. We'll sign you up. And you can also probably find a couple of really good groups to play in, because there are all kinds of them.
Yeah, there are 400 student groups on campus. If you just Google WUGO, W-U-G-O, at Woostel or WashU, you will find it. It's a great group organizer. WUGO stands for WashU Group Organizer. 400
Also
student groups.
take lessons.
Yes.
You can take lessons, and you can contact the music department about joining an ensemble.
Yeah. So there's 400 student groups, and only about half of those are a cappella groups. That was a joke. All right. Quick plug for architecture students. They make great set designers, and I know someone who teaches set design. Take some theater classes if you wish. Any other? I don't see any other questions out there or any hands raised. We're almost at time here. Jenny or Simone, anything I might be overlooking that we want to make sure all first-year incoming students know?
I did have one good question that came in via email, was that if you all have already submitted the form, the pre-enrollment form that we ask you to fill out with your choices, at least for Beyond Boundaries for the fall, and you end up changing it, it's not a problem at all. Obviously, you can work with your advisor to decide which class works in your schedule, but feel free to, you don't have to refill out the form. You can just email myself or Rob or Jenny about it, and we're happy, I can switch it. So I think things may, move around a bit until your schedule's solidified. So don't worry if it ends up having to change based on, your scheduling needs. So.
Yeah. So a quick example, if you take my design and creativity class, and in that first couple of weeks, you would rather take Earth's future on global climate change, talk to Simone. She will take care of your assigning you to that other class. Let's see. Okay, we got an anonymous one here. A student went to WebStack and cannot tell when their assigned registration time is. Is that where that is posted? Is that correct? I'm not sure how to tell you how to find it out, but
In WebStack, on the column under registration,
okay.
click on registration, not on registration worksheet. You will need to click on registration worksheet to do that task, but just click on registration and it will say you are not authorized to begin registering until 9
There's a,
on the 14th of
there's
July.
a magic time. Magic
Yeah,
time.
that's your
indeed.
time. That's your time.
And those times, just to clarify, are assigned via lottery, right? There's basically it's a random assignments.
Some sort of weirdo algorithm somebody came up with.
Okay, probably
Yeah.
somebody
Probably
in
an
comp sci, by the way.
engineer.
Mel.
Probably some engineer. That is right.
Yeah, Dean Larose and I both went for the jugular on the engineering joke there. I love it.
That's
All right.
okay. I like you guys.
So yeah, WebStack courses and registration tab, registration. Let's see. This student, again, anonymous, I get the message on WebStack. You may begin registration for fall 2021 on April 23rd, 2021. That seems early.
That's a mistake.
That seems like in the past.
That's when other students probably got to register.
Whoever you are anonymous, you should probably talk to Simone.
Yes. Email at Simone at the email address that we put in there before. All right. I think we're at time. We've got about 5 minutes, but I think we've sort of run the gamut on questions. Great questions, everybody. Thank you so much. And for those watching this on the recording, thank your classmates here for asking some super good questions. But thanks for your time this evening. We really are excited. I'm super excited. We're all excited to see you in person. I had no clue what height my students were this entire last year because all I saw was this much of them. So yeah, we're excited to welcome you to WashU, and thank you to the deans here for being so gracious with your expertise and knowledge and wisdom for these students. Really, really appreciate it. All right, that's it. Bye, everybody. Bye. Zoom salute. Zoom salute, everybody.
Thanks, Rob. Bye, everyone.
You bet. Thank you.